it's very hard to beat the rap that you're just planning a killing. If you're a woman and you're obsessed with serial killers, you're pretty much just trying to avoid getting killed. That's the idea. Is it effective? No.
See, my theory is there's just as many female serial killers as male serial killers. They're just better at it.
They're just better
Yeah,
at
they
it.
are. Clearly they
Okay.
are. I'm reminded like the girl down in Florida who got the death penalty. I forget her name.
Eileen Wuornos.
Yes, thank you. Her story reminds me of like getting bit by a werewolf. Like she gets picked up by that guy and he spreads the plastic out on the back seat, like that guy was ready to was going to kill her and like dump her body someplace, but she managed to kill him instead. You know what I mean? And it's at
Wow.
that point where she basically turned into a killer. She started killing people. So basically she got bit by a werewolf. Is what happened to her.
She got infected with the killing.
She,
something. Something.
Yeah, I hadn't ever thought about it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like getting bit by a zombie or a werewolf or a vampire, man. You're going to turn into one if you're not careful.
Well, we're going to talk about a woman accused of murder here in a second. So,
okay.
What a great segue.
Nice. Good on you.
Except for we haven't started the show. Welcome back to Geek Channel 8. I'm Eric.
I'm Will.
I'm Jason.
This week, we are doing the second episode of Hallmark's version of Frankenstein from 2004, a miniseries. And so we also have with us Laura Braunstein, a PhD in English literature.
Hi.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Hi, Laura.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
What's been going on with you?
Well, a couple weekends ago, I went to a crossword puzzle tournament called the American Crossword Puzzle Tournament. It's run by Will Schwartz, who's also the editor of the New York Times crossword puzzle. I think I came in 175th out of about 800 people.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's a fun weekend, and it's just a lot of like, if you think it's fun to hang out with your friends and talk about geeky movies, it's really fun to hang out with your friends for a weekend and just solve puzzles all day long.
Laura, you've actually created the New York Times crossword puzzle before, right?
What?
I've had 2 puzzles published in the New York Times.
Wow.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
One was a collaboration on a Sunday, and the other was by myself. This was now some time ago. And I think the one thing I'll just mention is that, like, most people know about the New York Times crossword puzzle, but the world of crossword puzzles is actually much more extensive than that. There's a lot of kind of like indie and alternative crosswords that are a little bit more my style. And I tend to be publishing in that sort of thing lately. But in a local newsletter, I have been having a mini crossword puzzle run twice a week. And that's been super fun to be able to put sort of lots of local things in there, like the name of a local brewery and local restaurants and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's a really fun way to kind of exercise some of my geekiness.
That's super cool.
Every time I go to do the crossword puzzle, I always look for, there's like Caesar's quote, Veni, Vidi, Vici. They always put in Vici. It's like always in there for something. I'm like, that's not even English. That's Latin.
English is whatever we decide it is. Okay. Laura, I want to ask you this. Is there, because in a way, yes, that's true. Because it's a living thing. And, there's some quote that I won't misquote about, there's no point in trying keeping English pure because frankly, English has run down other languages in the alley and beaten them up and rifled through the pockets. And, but is there any standard, like, it's like, all right, here's the dictionary we use for this.
Like they do in Scrabble.
Yeah.
Man, those Scrabble people are crazy.
So I think, Will Schwartz always says anything that appears in the New York Times, the newspaper, is fair game for the crossword. But Will Schwartz is in his 70s, and I think there have been a lot of people in the last, I don't know, decade who've kind of like, again, there's this movement of younger people. There's a whole there's queer crosswords, there's feminist
Mm,
crosswords, all of this stuff. And there's this young woman named Juliana Pache in Brooklyn, I think, or Queens, who has been publishing Black crosswords now for like
yeah.
a couple of years. And she has a huge following and has published a couple of books. So again, like crosswords, like movies, like any kind of culture has its own depending on your subculture, it might have its own dictionary. So
Oh,
there's
wow.
really no universal one now. And I think that's what's been really fantastic, I think, is really watching this little tiny bit of subculture that I'm really into kind of expand
Mm,
and become more diverse and more inclusive.
I love it. I mean, I honestly, okay, because there's so many, I I don't know, there's more new words that are generated now, but they spread more rapidly because of the internet. And of course, there's despite the fact that we're writing them a lot of the time. I mean, like people say people don't read anymore, but honestly, we probably read more than ever. It's just not, it's just, in the comments under a video. Uh,
Yeah,
for some things, there's not going to be a standardized spelling, right? Or maybe there is a standardized spelling, maybe there isn't. And especially the newer things you invent. I mean, I imagine like, okay, so speaking of super subcultures, like when I was a young man in like my 20s, my roommate was like a furry, and nobody had heard of that before. Now it's pretty well known,
pretty common. Yeah, it's pretty common.
a small subculture, and within that subculture, there's other subcultures of like, oh yeah, I'm this particular kind of furry. I mean, and I'm not that deep into it, even though my kids are. I'm not that deep into it to know what words they use that nobody else uses, but I'm sure there are words that they use that no one else uses, and I'm like, somebody should probably start doing crosswords for them, and they would probably love it because how can I put this? They love games. That's a broad statement, but like right along with all the furry activity, there at every furry con that I've ever taken the kids to or whatever, there's always a gaming track right alongside there. So they would probably love that stuff. But yeah, I love that fact that it's expanding the way you talked about, and I want to see how it works. I might have to look that up.
So speaking of language, I read a book that I think it won the Hugo
Mm.
back in around the same time as our movie today, The Yiddish Policeman's Union.
Oh yeah, by Michael Chabon. That's a great
Michael
book.
Chabon. It's interesting because language plays a role in it, and I never know what language they're speaking because it's written in English and everything's supposed to be English. But so the premise is that there's this place called Sitka, Alaska, which
Yeah.
it's an alternate history where like it becomes this Jewish metropolis. It's basically Israel if it was Alaska, right?
Hmm.
But they talk about Yids and Jews like
Mm.
they're different things, right? And
Mm.
so like and sometimes they'll talk about like he said in American. And so we had this big debate, what is American? Because there's also a Native American partner. It's a cop drama, right? There's two cops, they're investigating a murder, and so then we're like, well, are they speaking English? And then we came up. I was like, I thought American meant Hebrew because that's what the rest of the Jews spoke. But then so there's just like this big, and then I found passages where they're like, no, only Hebrew. That's only spoken in synagogue, and so I thought that was very interesting. It's a good book, but what really stuck out to me was the main character's name is Meyer Landsman, and I cannot hear Landsman without thinking of Jay Landsman. Do you guys know who Jay Landsman is?
No.
He was the subject of a true crime book called Homicide: A Year on the Killing Streets, and it was about Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
Oh, is that what the TV show is based on?
They made a TV show of it. He was played by
Was it Andre Brower?
no,
Brower?
no, 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 Richard Belzer.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
Yeah,
Ha.
John Munch was the character, and then
Yeah.
John Munch was on Homicide until Homicide went off, and then he went over to Law and Order, SVU.
Yeah.
But that character, as played by one actor, was in the one detective that has been in more shows than anything. Like he's in American Dad. He was on X Files. He was on he was on CSI. He was on all these shows as Munch, which was a Jewish detective because
Detective,
those are
yeah.
Jewish, right? And I'm like, this can't be a coincidence, like that he chose that name for.
Nice, very nice. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that stuck out at me. Anyway, good book. Enough about that good book. Let's talk about Frankenstein.
The crowds are thinning out at the snack bar, folks, and there are still 3 minutes till showtime. You can easily make it for something that'll just hit the spot. How about it? Don't waste a second of refreshment time.
Before we get into the meat of this, I don't know if we're talking meat or not, but Will, do you have something for episode 2?
Oh, as a matter of fact, I do. Now, usually when I'm talking about food and on this program, I'm not talking about something that I necessarily made for it. This is something that I think fits. Eric is much better about actually, this is what I made, this is what I ate while I watched this. This time, it all fit together for me, though. My dearest wife had made a pork roast. And she was in a hurry. She made it very straightforward and simple. It was basically done in a pressure cooker with onions. There's a few spices, but nothing. It was not a spicy pork roast. It wasn't pulled pork. It was a pork roast. So it came out tender, delicious. The onions melted into this wonderful gravy. We had potatoes with that.
I love how we just got done talking about Jewish stuff and we're going straight to the pork roast. By the way, for those who don't know, Laura is Jewish.
I don't keep kosher though, so you can talk about the pork roast all you want.
Okay, so this is not like we had the vegan on the show and you went into the meat dishes. All right.
I always do. I mean, look, I'm very I love vegetables. They go great with meat. But anyway, honestly, the thing is, the reason why I think this is a perfect setting for this is that earlier I thought, frankly, our last episode, the first part of this thing, when I was watching it, I thought it was a little cheesy. I enjoyed it more after I had the discussion with my fellows here. But like the second set, it was much more hearty, filling, and fulfilling. And in particular, pork with potatoes is very German, very much a German meal. To the point where, like, yeah, I literally one of my dear church mates who is from Germany, he invited me. We went over to his house for a meal that was pork and potatoes, and that's normally not what I would have chosen, but it was great. It is great the way it is. It didn't need anything extra. So that's why I chose this for this one. I think a simple meal, pork and potatoes. We didn't even cook the potatoes with the pork separately. Potatoes were just steamed. Okay, that's all. Then you can add your butter and whatever. But like, really, pork, potatoes, done. Out the door. I think the Germans say something like, this is not too bad. That's considered high praise. They're like, I would eat this again. That's considered high praise. So anyway, that's what I got for you today.
Jumping into this episode, at the end of the last episode, which we didn't mention, he traveled back to the creature traveled back to Geneva, where he encountered a little boy, Victor's brother William. And then he wanted to keep the boy from yelling. This is my thing about how they soft pedal the creature in this. To keep him from yelling, he covers his mouth, but like accidentally kills him, which that is not how it is in the book. In the book, he deliberately kills him to like punish Victor and frame Justine. And so we got Justine, the housekeeper, maid. I don't know what her official title is.
She was like the maid, house, the scullery maid or some shit,
Yeah.
Took care of the kid too,
Anyway, she's arrested for the murder because, like, as usual, the most flimsy of evidence. Like they find the locket on her, which in the book, there's this whole thing about like Victor knows that the creature did the murder, but he can't like come out and be like, yeah, I made this monster and like he strangled it, people,
Yeah.
so
He
he's
ran
got to
him
like
off.
keep his mouth shut, even though he knows the truth. So, but this one goes too far, in my opinion, in the direction of making the creature sympathetic, the Beauty and the Beast syndrome, as I said. He's not bad. He's misunderstood.
Hmm.
He feels too much
Yeah.
remorse.
That's right. Just like Peter Steele.
Yeah. He feels too much remorse at Justine's execution. They hang her versus the novel where he engineered it. He wanted her to be killed. The creature confronts Victor and tells him a story of what he's been up to all this time. And he demands that Victor make him a mate. And he promises if he grants this request, he and the mate will disappear into the, I don't think they say jungles, but the wilds of South America and never be seen again. And Victor agrees reluctantly, but eventually, like in all of these, he abandons not all of them, but a lot. He abandons it, destroys the bride because he's worried, that they're going to mate and make like undead babies. I don't know how that works. I don't know where undead babies come from.
Well, I mean, they can eat. He can eat, so I mean, he has to eat. So something's going on in there.
I'm thinking they're going to have undead babies.
Yeah,
That's
I think
you know what? Let's just go with that.
that was part of the plan. The monster wanted that. Henry comes to him, and he's been keeping the secrets all this time. He tried to tell the magistrate, no, it was a monster that he's like, this wouldn't work because that's not what happened in the book. But he had said, I owe somebody money and he's killing my family. I know who's doing this. That would have worked better. But Henry comes and he appeals to him and says, look, I'm, yes, because Henry's going to leave the country and go on this tour of the Holy Lands. And instead, he comes to him and he says, hey, what's going on? You got to tell me. And of course, yes, his fiance had sent them there. He tells Henry everything. And Henry's like, whoa, dude, you can't keep doing, don't compound your sins by doing this again.
Yeah.
But he makes no such promise. He doesn't. But after he leaves, and before the monster gets there, he destroys.
There's the confrontation between Victor and the monster. And because it's like so vague in the book as to where this happens, like they always come up with, where are we going to put this? And like, we've seen it in the laboratory. We've seen it in an ice cave.
Yeah.
Like in this, it's like the most dilapidated castle ever. It's like the ruins of an old castle. It's like, okay, I don't know why they go to this castle, but it's got a castle in it now.
Well, yeah, they're in Germany. There's got to be plenty of like derelict castles sitting around that they can just stroll into, right?
It checks off the castle off the box because like that's a Frankenstein trope, right? Got to be a castle. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Hallmark is trying to meet the expectations of their particular audience.
Yeah.
There's definitely a checklist with all these movies, the creation scene, the lightning, the little girl next to the pond, the old blind man. I mean, there's a bunch of them they hit. So
there's going to come a time when we come across a movie in our watching where they decide they're just going to skip that. It's going to be the equivalent of what they did with the current series of Spider-Man. It's like everybody knows how that works. We can just skip that part, and we're going to go on to the story. But we haven't come across it yet. They always do those things.
We'll get to that. But I like it because he pulls out a pistol on him, like Frankenstein does, and it's like a black powder pirate pistol. Like I'm like, which is period accurate,
Yeah.
It's not as good as that one where we saw the captain pull out the double. Like that was Tom Baker, right? Which one was that?
Wasn't it?
Yeah. I think that was Frankenstein: The True Story. It was not as good as that, but it was still pretty cool. And then they backpedal a little on the William thing, where this is where we find out the creature accidentally killed William. Victor is briefly imprisoned for this murder, but acquitted. He returns home and he's going to marry Elizabeth. On their wedding night, the creature sneaks into the bedroom and strangles her to death. I feel like This is a part of the story that filmmakers like, because we've gotten this one a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
Just as a side note, this is very in-depth geek, but like, is this the first fridging, or am I reading too much into it?
Oh, like women in refrigerators?
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, did she have to die so that he could, his character arc could go on? And is that
Mary Shelley is like the queen of all of the tropes of sci-fi and horror, so I'm going to say yes. We're going to give her first refrigerator.
And by the way, in this one, Henry helps him to like get rid of the body of the bride because he destroys it with fire.
Right.
And then he's like, okay, I'm gonna take care of the body from this point forward on my own. He says, okay, I'll see you later. Have the best champagne.
The best champagne money can buy was the quote.
Money can buy. And when he comes back to the dock because he's dumping the body. When he comes back, yeah, they accuse him of murdering Henry.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So was that in the book, Laura?
Which part?
Does the Frankenstein monster also murder Henry? And for that matter, is Henry in the book? I'm assuming he is.
Yeah, Henry is in the book. And I think in the book, I've actually got it open on my computer right now. I'm trying to remember whether his mother dies in childbirth with Henry. I think that's what happens rather than
scarlet fever in this one, right?
Yeah. But yes, Henry, and then I do think again that the Henry's death is kind of what inspires them to get married.
He is murdered by the creature in the book.
Yeah. It's not so immediate, but I'm thinking back to like the Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the Kenneth Branagh one, where doesn't the monster murder the wife, murder Elizabeth by just like reaching in and pulling out her heart or something?
Oh.
Yeah.
And then he uses her body to try and make the bride of Frankenstein.
Yes, that's happened in a bunch of these movies.
In the book, which is also really interesting, is that we don't see anything about her death at all. It's like this is what this film actually gets, or this production actually gets really right, is that he's, Victor's like completely paranoid, of course, because the monster had said, I'll be with you on your wedding night. So he's like freaking out on their honeymoon and like looking around the house, and he just comes back and finds she's dead.
Yeah. In this, he doesn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Which is a big contrast to Kenneth Branagh's Frankenstein, where it's the monster's coming and he's got like guards and stuff like that.
He had a posse. He had a posse with him.
He had a posse. So it was essentially now. Kenneth Branagh's was sort of the companion piece to Bram Stoker's Dracula, Coppola, because Coppola produced it. So it's almost a parallel scene to the scene in Dracula where like they know that Dracula's going to come for Mina, and like all the Harker and all the guys are like taking turns standing guard, and they're like they've taken all the precautions. That is the way they do it in Kenneth Branagh's. Not in this. He doesn't tell anyone, and he does have he has a decoy coach that he doesn't tell anybody. Like, why is there two coaches? And I'm thinking, why is there two coaches? Like
the decoy.
But somehow the creature figures it out because he's like way smarter than Victor at this point.
Yeah, he really is, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he used, a guy wearing his coat to sneak off to make it look like him, just to get him out of the.
He used the decoy on him.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is something that we come around to asking about, and this might be a good time to ask. So, just how bad is this Victor Frankenstein? Just how venal, selfish, and arrogant is he?
Throughout all these movies, I think Victor is basically portrayed pretty much the same way. Arrogant, wants to play God, he's going to do it, damn the consequences. And then when he does do it, he realizes, oh shit, this is bad. And it's basically the same script with just different actors, to me. It seems that.
How bad is he? I don't think he's that bad initially. Like, Road to Hell is paved with good intentions, but like he gets pretty far down that road where he's like when Henry shows up to see him, Henry's like, demands like, okay, what the hell is going on? And I'm like thinking, oh God, I need a drink for this. And then I'm thinking you're going to need a drink. And the very next scene, what are they doing? They're
drinking.
Both got a drink in hand as he like tells him about this. We've certainly seen a lot worse Victors, and I think he gets a little bit of a glow up, not as much as the creature does, like in this. Yeah, I don't think he's as bad in this one.
Again, like the context here is like this is a Hallmark production, and like how bad can he be? Right. So I would say that he's like essentially like basic cable bad. He's 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 like and in which and I would have to say that he's actually not that different from the Victor of the book. The Victor of the book is a tortured romantic hero in a different way than the and I mean romantic in the not in the like romantasy,
Yeah.
romance, that we call it now, that Hallmark actually specializes in, but like in the capital R romantic movement of the late 18th, early 19th century, he's a tortured hero. He who is has ambivalent feelings towards his creation, right? And so who was so fascinated by science that of course it's they were what is it they were so obsessed with whether they could, they never thought about whether they should,
Yeah,
right?
that's a throwback to
Right,
our
yeah.
And again, like this is where this originates from. And I think one of the interesting things is you guys were talking about all these tropes, is that I think about this a lot when I think about like when my son first watched Citizen Kane. He was like, "Mom, this is like the most derivative movie I've ever seen. Like the newspaper spinning around and the weird, I was like, dude, everything else you've ever seen in your life is derivative. This invented everything."
Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I think what's interesting is like, is Victor a bad guy? He's a guy with good intentions whose creation just got out of hand. And then kind of inspired everything that we think about in terms of that kind of like narrative problem.
basic cable bad.
Uh,
I think I gotta give a shout out to the most hallmarky moment of this, which is there's like a scene at the wedding. Like now we got a little bit of this and other stuff, but they go whole hog on the like ballroom dancing scene. Like
Oh yeah.
I'm like, first of all, Regency era dancing is some of the silliest looking stuff ever. But like, but they
how can you say that?
what's that?
How can you say that?
Hey, I've seen square dancing. All right. This. Anyway,
Well, actually, can I say one thing interesting? You probably
yeah.
have mentioned this before, but Frankenstein, Pride and Prejudice,
Oh,
same
my.
year, right? And
Yeah.
so and what do people think about when they think about private like adaptations of Pride and Prejudice? They think about that kind of Regency dancing.
I was totally expecting a Mr. Darcy kind of moment happening in this. It's like, wait, did they just mix up their scripts here?
Yeah, like maybe the creature is like Mr. Darcy.
He is. He
like,
sort of is.
He's like tall and disapproving, right?
Yeah.
Tortured.
Yeah.
He's unattainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I want to weigh in on this a little bit on the doctor. Actually, I don't think he managed to be a doctor in this one. So, but Victor, here's the thing. This particular Victor seems very weak, and like just they're usually kind of wishy-washy, going back and forth. It's not all of them. As a matter of fact, some of the earliest ones, or not the earlier, like the Hammer ones and stuff like that, where he's almost like we're almost. It's like,
well, Grand Moff Tarkin, man, he's
yeah,
willing to kill the maid because she saw him like
totally different. So that's a different level of evil, and like so there's a level of evil and arrogance and no regrets that this guy does not have. So there's some of these scripts have this guy. He's evil. He's evil because he's willing to do stuff. He's arrogant and driven, and he's only mad because other people have turned on his monster. He still loves the monster. He still wants it to exist.
So here's the thing. I wonder how much evil exists off screen. And I'll give you an example of this. Like, okay, we talked about the decoy carriage, right? That means there was a decoy him. There's like a decoy him who got in. Did he tell that guy that there was gonna monster coming to gonna try to kill him, and that's why he's being a decoy? Or did he just be like, get in this carriage and head off into the woods?
Yeah.
Well, and of course, where did the bodies come from?
No, but I mean that, Eric, that was a closed carriage, right? It was a closed carriage, so you could really see inside.
There wasn't anybody in that other carriage. I managed. I actually looked. I was
but what happened to the driver when he was intercepted? I mean, well, that is the true evil that is across the board for Frankenstein. Is once he decides I have made a terrible mistake, there's usually a point where he thinks that the monster's dead. But in this case, he had no reason to think that. So he never, and there's no point he ever need reason to think that the monster was dead. But usually there's a point where he thinks the monster is dead, and then he figures out the monster's not dead, and he's done something terrible. And it's at that point where you are responsible for something horrible happening in the world beyond just making a corpse alive again. I mean, 6 of one, half of another. What big deal? 6, 7. But the other thing is, at that point, he never just comes clean and tells everybody, no, you have to understand. It doesn't matter about my reputation. It doesn't matter if you're not going to believe me. I'm telling you what happened because it's going to happen again, and I need to fix this. When the monster comes and tells him, this has to happen, or else I'm going to kill it. You need to make me whole. That needs to be. I immediately talk to all my family and friends and say, look, obviously my judgment's not that good. I think I should help him because I owe him, but should I? And if I shouldn't, how should we deal with this? It's this whole thing where he is absolutely, that's the one thing is he always chooses to hide his shame.
Well, until the end, right? Yeah. So he heads to the Arctic, after the creature strangles Elizabeth and all that, he heads north. And in this one, we get something that I haven't seen in any of them, and I don't know if it's even in the book. We find out how he got the dog sled.
It's in the book.
I always wondered that. It's suddenly he's got a dog sled. That is actually in
the book. Yeah, that's in the book. He actually comes. Yeah, I seriously pulled out a map and I was like, okay, Geneva, Ingolstadt, because he goes in he goes back to Ingolstadt, I think, to talk to the in this production,
professor.
I feel like to the professor.
Yes,
right?
he does go back to. Yes,
I'm actually looking at this map, and I'm like, so maybe that the family that he gets a dog sled from, in those mountains, maybe he goes to Finland or something, and then if Walton is the English captain of a ship with a Russian crew, so maybe they're maybe what they're exploring is up in, I don't know, Nova Zembla or whatever those islands north of Russia. Svalbard, but you would have to go over to see
Archangel is actually where they were out
Archangel, right? Okay, Archangel.
Yeah, Archangel.
So no, this so he in the book he meets this family and they're like, yeah, this monster came along and stole all of our food and our goats and shit. And if you've got a horse, you're not going to get far. So he ends up getting the sled dogs from that dude, just yeah, so that's pretty accurate. I mean, at some point, you really aren't going to want a horse. You're going to want a dog sled. And
yeah, so we get to the wraparound, back to the ending here, where he tells the captain, he tells Walton his story, and he's like, you gotta finish it, because he knows he's dying, and he basically does die aboard the ship. Walton agrees. I guess we should say Victor sees Elizabeth's ghost beckoning to him, and he dies.
As one does. Yeah.
Yeah, as one does. Didn't we see that in did we see that in Van Helsing? Didn't they see the ghost?
Yes. Yeah.
The creature then is sad, that his father's dead, and feels remorse about the things that he's done. And he says that he's going to kill himself on his own, on the funeral pyre, and he disappears off into the snow.
He takes his father with him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scoops him up and takes off.
And I feel like we've seen this depicted before. The captain rather than attacking him or having his men attack, he tells, no, leave him alone. Let him be. He's heard this man's story. He knows the story of Frankenstein and his son, Frankenstein. You know, and he's like, yeah, no, we're not making these people suffer anymore. Also, he'll just kill us. But
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
this is something that I don't remember ever seeing before, and it might be from the book. But either way, it's probably my favorite scene. Is he returns home after Elizabeth is dead, comes in, and his father is there, and his father basically just it's like the line that sticks in my head is like, "You don't need to be here, Victor. There's no reason for you to be here. Everybody's already dead."
Yeah.
He just
Mhm.
says like you
Except for
Francis
Dad.
always followed you. You were into it as a kid, and then like everybody who's been around, everyone's dead now. There's no point in you being here. I'm like, wow, that
Damn.
was my favorite scene. I've not seen that happen before, but it is kind of like the call out when it's like when they finally start saying, yeah, no, Doctor Who, yeah, no, that guy's like he's like the angel of death. He's like, yeah,
Okay.
when he shows up, everybody dies. It's like kind of like that. I'm like, yeah, as a matter.
So let's get into the themes here. And the big one that we've talked about over and over again on all of these is responsibility of the creator or the creation, you know? So is one day will there be, the Nuremberg trials of Elon Musk for creating AI? Like, like and loosing it upon the world. That's what I want to know. What is how does the uh responsibility part of this land for you guys?
One of the things I found really interesting is that a really important kind of coda in the book is that after hearing this whole story, Walton decides that he will listen to the petitions of his crew, and instead of continuing on in the Arctic, he will turn around and head home.
Yeah, yeah.
And so showing that at least, like Victor's story has persuaded him to let go of some of his hubris. And so it's almost like the book is kind of acting out what it thinks the moral effect of the book should be on
Yep.
people who read it, you know?
Yep.
So I think that's pretty interesting that like the captain of a ship has sort of the same kind of responsibility to the crew or like his children in the way that the creature is Victor's child, right?
Yep.
Mm.
Um, uh, so um, so I thought that was very interesting that they kind of, if not literally, kind of kept that in there. I think also the interesting use of the quotation that in the book is the epigram from Paradise Lost, and then in it's something that the creature actually says out loud while he's reading Paradise Lost. Like somehow he's never read anything before, and then suddenly um, he's able to say like, did I request thee, maker, from my clay? So should be, wait, what does this say again? Um, to mold me man, did I solicit thee from darkness to promote me? And so he has this moment with Walton where they sort of read it together. Um, and so I think there's like, if it's the responsibility of the creator toward the creation, there's also like the creation has a right to have some sense of his purpose in life, or some sense of like, why do I exist? Sort of almost saying that this sort of existential question is every individual's moral right to ask of its parent.
Mm. Mm.
So
Well,
maybe
as soon
AI
as
will turn around
sorry,
and be
sorry.
like, Elon, why did you, or Sam Altman, why did you create me?
Yeah.
I think the real question, and this is the real moral question, is not the act of creation, but the failure to parent that child.
Hmm.
All right. The act of creation, honestly, speaking as a parent, really don't, until you do it, I don't know that the weight of it is really clear to you. And even after you, then it's like, oh my God, what have I done? And then sometimes people do it more than once. What the hell? But like
Hmm.
the part where you are responsible, you have to. It's like they're here. Give them what you can. But he didn't. In his horror, he abandoned him. He gave him nothing. And then when he came to him later and said, you owe me something, and then even at that point he's like, nah, I still think I'm gonna kill you, and did a poor job of that. That's the part where it's like our responsibility to our creation and the demand that it's like, look, I can't really tell my kids. No one can really. What's the meaning of life? Well, fuck, I know, but this is how I get by. I can tell you how I get by. He didn't even give him that. He could have given them all of that. Now we've seen in some of these depictions he does teach the creature to and of course, because it's a story that is the story, it never turns out well anyway. But that is the key feeling. It's not so much that he had the audacity to create, because it's like an urge, right?
Yeah.
It's that he had the failure of morality. He failed to take care of his creation, that's the question that is like, why has God forsaken me? Why does my life suck so much? Why is life so hard? Where are you? Why aren't you talking to me? And this is the question we know that people have had to whatever we think creation is forever, versus like, well, I'm here, how dare you make me? Because most of the time, if you really, yeah, we want to know what my point is more than how dare you make me. And I think that's a fair question.
We talked about responsibility for the creation, but we'll talk about what the creation feels. So isolation and rejection is another big theme in this. And it goes beyond Victor and the creature, both of whom are isolated, but there's also, how does Elizabeth feel when
Oh
he won't
yeah.
talk to him? How does
Hmm.
how do the crew of the Prometheus feel, like, stuck in the ice for all this time, and they're still gonna try to keep going forward. Like, there is more isolation and rejection just in the major two characters. How well did that theme land?
Hmm.
Pretty
I thought,
well.
yeah.
Like the scene where he's hiding in the hay bale or in the hay barn or whatever.
Yeah, the shed
Actually, is in
on
his
the
little hiding place there, man. He's like he's watching, or when he sneaks into up to the window to watch the family. He's participating but not. You know what I mean? He's living vicariously by watching these people have like normal lives and interact with each other like normal people, but that's not for him. And he's got to go. And as soon as the sun comes up, before he gets done, or after he gets done chopping their wood for him, which is very nice, by the way. And he's got to go hide. He can't actually take any credit for his good deeds, or because he was just, they would react to, how did you put it? The like Monty Python villagers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and sure, that I think it landed real well.
It could be better in, like, for instance, we've seen really nice depictions where the blind man is without a family, or they only come visit, and he becomes totally engrossed with the monster, and vice versa. They become family. The blind man is being isolated, and his isolation and loneliness lets him relate.
Yeah, certainly makes him a relatable person to
Yeah.
Frankenstein or to the monster.
Yeah, that's a real reflection there. We've even seen this also with Justine.
Mhm.
She's grown up along with everybody else, but she's a servant. And she's sort of on the out, and they depicted it so it looks more plausible that she would have done this out of jealousy to the people outside anyway.
Right.
Yeah, at least so we've seen these different depictions, and I have to just step back for a moment. One of the things I love about the way we are watching this, specifically this series with the film, with this story that's being told over and over in different ways, it reminds me of, it's like, well, geez, we've already seen Romeo and Juliet. Why would we need yet another staging of it? It's like, well, because we're going to emphasize different things. It's going to be done differently. It's going to come across different.
Sure.
So even when people are telling like comic book stories, and it's like, oh, great, do we really need to see the, Batman again? It's like, could be different this time. And a lot of times it is, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the same old crap. But I love seeing this. This is one of my favorite things.
As I've kind of posited before, this is Hallmark's attempt to make the story into a Hallmark movie, into like a prestige production, right? But like still within Hallmark's production values. So I think the intended audience is maybe it's people who are like see the Hallmark brand, they know it's a particular kind of quality or not quality, and maybe they've been scared off Frankenstein before because they thought it was just like, the serial monster or whatever. And the idea was this maybe would bring them into classic literature instead of the horror genre. So it's like a path to the book from classic literature.
I agree with Laura. It's definitely made for your grandmother, and you can watch it with the kids, and it's family fare.
For sheer faithful to the book, I would give it a thumbs up. Entertainment value, I would probably give it like not a thumbs, neutral, but maybe like, a lawful neutral on the grid.
Oh, we stand that plus.
I thought it was pretty good. The costume, like you said, the costumes were great. My one gripe is the old man didn't actually play the violin.
You're allowed. Yeah.
I'm allowed that one. Can I
You're
have
allowed
that one?
that
Okay.
one. Yeah.
All right. Thanks. And if you guys want to see what Peter Steele looks like as Frankenstein, then this movie's for you.
The intended audience is the strength of this movie that makes it stand out in a lot of ways. Kind of like when you are writing for, or at least the way it used to be, when people would write for juvenile audiences and you took sex and violence and gore off the table, you were left with the more important things to talk about, right? Well, okay, sometimes you're just talking about gee whiz gadgetry, but you can tell stories that are important without presenting all of that stuff. And in some ways, by putting that in the background, you get better stories. So you're not worried about like depicting the murders or whatever. You're more instead you are engrossed in the moral consequences, the social, the psychological stuff, all that stuff. So I think that's actually its strength, and nothing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I did not enjoy watching this movie, the first part at all. The
Yeah, it's
second
hard.
part,
It is hard. It is hard.
I really didn't. And the second part, I enjoyed a lot more because it was actually into the meat of the matter of it, the morality, etc. I found myself just focused in on the moral confrontation between characters, and that was the best part. Overall, I'm going to say, entertainment wise, the movie itself, no. If you can find a cool crew of people to watch it with and talk about it,
Like us.
double thumbs
No,
up.
he said cool people.
Oh,
Eric.
that's not us.
He said cool people.
I am going to apply the Starship Troopers rule here, which is basically
Would you like to know more?
I love Heinlein's book. We talked about Starship Troopers when we watched the movie of Starship Troopers, and I have so many sci-fi fantasy geek friends who hate that movie because it is absolutely nothing like Heinlein's
Oh, it's nothing like the book.
Nothing like the book. Nothing like the book. But you know what? As much as I love that book, it would make a terrible movie if you adapted it.
Yeah. Starship Troopers was a good movie. I don't care. That was a good movie.
It was a good movie. It was nothing like the book. Now, I think the same thing applies to Frankenstein. The closer we get to the book, the less entertaining it is as a movie. So I would give it a thumbs down as for entertainment. I do agree with whatever that reviewer was at the beginning. This, like, if you don't want to read the book and you're in like,
yeah, I'm not reading the book now.
Yeah,
I'm not
eighth
reading
graders,
the book now.
all our eighth graders out there, if you don't want to read the book, you can watch this. It's pretty damn faithful. As basic cable Frankensteins go, the TNT version with Randy Quaid, I think, was better. Even with things like Walton, it didn't have someone as good as Donald Sutherland as the captain, but even having Captain Walton obsessed, and then he learns his lesson and turns back, I think that was more well done in that version. So I would give this a thumbs down for entertainment value. I think it has value to someone who wants a really, really faithful adaptation of the book, which I don't. I love Karloff's Frankenstein. I think we're all kind of in agreement that it's very accurate and it's not all that entertaining. Okay.
I wish I could have Donald Sutherland as Nemo.
They should have spent more money on the creation scene. I'm sorry. I mean, that one was kind of lackluster, little lackluster.
That's always a highlight for me, is the creation scene in it. And this one, it was just kind of. But again, faithful to the book. In the book, the creation happens between pages. It's like, okay, boom.
Oh yeah, and that's yeah. He sews it together. The lightning strikes, and it's a creature.
There's no sewing and there's no lightning. It's just
There's no sewing or lightning. Oh wow, okay.
If you like the show, the way you could really help us out, get somebody else to watch it or listen to it. Sorry, we don't even have
send Eric money.
They don't even know how to.
I'll buy him lunch.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Maybe I do need to start virtual begging.
You gotta put it out there, baby.
Wait, I just thought something. What if there was someone who was in academia who could sign listening to this podcast to their students? Does anybody know anybody like that?
Conflict of interest. Remember when last episode when Jason was talking about not having his own band on the Super Satan show? The same rule applies here.
Nah.
Yeah,
really? Because I tell you, let me tell you, I had some college courses, and so often the professors had that requirement that we buy a book that they happen to have contributed to.
They get a kickback from every book.
You know how much that kickback is? It's about 10 cents.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's why they got to get out there and hustle those books.
Honestly, I feel like we should know. In all seriousness, this is way off topic because I do that. You should eliminate the middleman. Just go straight from the teacher to the student. Don't need these textbook people. Nah, screw that stuff. Anyway. All right.
No, you get in a barn, you read Paradise Lost, and that's how you learn everything.
Yeah, that's what
I say this because Will used to disappear for the whole day from class reading the encyclopedia. All right. Until next time, this is Eric.
This is Will.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Laura.
Signing off.
I have an 18-year-old, guys, and a 32-year-old. Yeah, 30-something-year-old too. So
wait, you have a 30-something-year-old?
Yeah.
Let him out of your basement, Will. Let him out of your basement. All right.